Hey, what is up, mortals? Part 3 Season 1. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying sit back and relax, you're in for a treat, and so we begin. Aizawa slid the door to Class 1 open. The two boys could hear two voices having an argument. Upon entering the room, the boys saw that the argument was between Bakugo and a blue-haired boy. The blue-haired boy was telling Bakugo to take his feet off the desk. Bakugo was as usual abrasive shelf, telling the blue-haired boy that he had a stick shoved up his butt. Aizawa was not surprised by this sight. He had known Bakugo long enough to expect this kind of behavior from him. At the same time, Aizawa thought that the blue-haired boy looked familiar. Midoriya, is that guy with the glasses the one that told you to stop fanboying out during the entrance exam? Aizawa said this statement in a more quizzical manner. Yes, he was my friend. Midoriya stated this with a nervous energy in his voice. As the two boys were talking, the blue-haired boy noticed their presence. He then walked over to them. It's you. My name is Tenya Ida. I wanted to apologize to you. I thought that you were a simple fanboy, but the way you handled yourself in the exam shows that you are indeed a student worthy of UA. Ida moved his hands in a very robotic fashion while he said these things to Midoriya. Also, how did you know about the rescue points? Midoriya said earnestly. Thank you, Ida. I accept your apology. The truth is that I had no idea about the rescue points. Ida replied, but the way you took down that robot to save the brown-haired girl, and all the damage you took. Are you saying that you did all of that? I just reacted. Midoriya said this as a matter of fact. After hearing this information, Ida's jaw dropped, and his eyes bulged out of his head. His face was a mask of hyper-animated shock. While Ida may have been shocked by this fact, Aizawa was not. He knew that Midoriya had a habit of jumping into situations without thinking. It was one of Midoriya's most noble character features, but it was also extremely infuriating. During all this interaction, Aizawa just stood beside Midoriya in silence. All this high energy was not his cup of tea. A feminine voice came from behind Midoriya and Aizawa. The voice said in an excited tone, I know that messy hair. It is you, Midoriya, the falling boy. Both boys turned around to see the girl that they had met outside the entrance exam building. Midoriya got a shocked look on his face, but then realized who it was. He responded after a few seconds with, Oh, hello Uraraka. Nice to see you again. I wanted to thank you for offering to give your points to me. After hearing that, Uraraka got a curious look on her face. She then asked Midoriya, how did you know about that? Midoriya then tried to explain. Before he could, Uraraka started asking Midoriya questions about how the day would go. While the brunt carried on about orientation, Aizawa suddenly felt a tapping on his shoulder. He turned around to see the face of Kyoka Gyro. Hi there, Aizawa. A rather rowdy group, aren't they? They certainly are, Gyro. Aizawa was glad to see that Gyro got in. As the two Amo students conversed, the electric blonde that Aizawa had met in the exam came up and introduced himself as Denki Kaminari. Just as the students were getting to know each other, the back door to the classroom slides open. All Might entered the room while striking a pose. The number one hero then said with an impossible level of energy, I am here, sneaking in the back door. The sight of the number one hero sent the whole class into a state of shock. None of the students knew what to say. Uraraka was the first to voice the excitement they all felt when she said, All Might really is working here. Well, you're even more muscly in person. All Might then spoke, I am so glad to see that this new class has such enthusiasm. I will be your homeroom teacher. At this statement, the class was once again rendered speechless. Even the usually reserved Aizawa was surprised by this news. The students did not know how to deal with this fact. They knew the number one hero in the world would be teaching at UA this year, but they did dare think that he would be their homeroom teacher, the one person who would be responsible for guiding them through their 3 years of training at UA. All Might said, All right everyone, I want you to put on one of these lovely gym uniforms, then head out to the practice field. The powerful hero held up the school gym uniform like a trained pitchman. Uraraka reacted to this statement with extreme concern. But what about orientation? We are going to miss it if we do that, All Might, sir. All Might remarked, Here at UA, we do not stand on tradition. That means I get to run this class the way I see fit. So don't worry about it, young Uraraka. The number one hero gave the brunette a big thumbs up after that explanation. The class then went off to the locker rooms to change. The class then gathered on the practice field. All Might then said, Each of you has taken many tests in school, but the one thing that none of you have done is use your quirks to their fullest. A shortcoming of the current education system, to be sure. But you have 3 years at UA to develop your powers to combat villains and natural or man-made disasters. Understand that these enemies will not care who you are or what your power is. All they see is an enemy who is their way. That is the job of a hero. To be a pillar of support for the hopes and dreams of the people and other heroes. So, use your time here to go beyond, plus ultra. All Might let this speech sink in. He could tell that it hit these students hard. All Might then added, Today you will take part in a series of physical tests. Use your quirks freely to help you get better results. He then tossed a soft ball to Katsuki Bakugo. All Might then asked Bakugo, "Young Bakugo, what was your farthest throw with a soft ball?" 30 meters, I guess, Bakugo responded. "Try throwing it with your quirk now." All Might gave him a thumbs up at the suggestion. Bakugo needed little incentive. He pulled his arm back and released his throw. As he released his throw, he unleashed a huge explosion that propelled the soft ball into the sky. All Might showed his phone that had a distance app on it. The app showed that Bakugo's throw hit 725 meters. The whole of Class 1 reacted in amazement at the fiery display. All Might replied, "Nice job, young Bakugo. Now that you all get how the test will work, let us get started. Know that the person who comes in last place will be held after for special training. I expect you all to go beyond, plus ultra. Show me that your acceptance into the UA was no mistake, young heroes." He said the word special with an evil enthusiasm that made the students very concerned. With that energizing speech, the boys and girls of Class 1 were ready to give it their all. After all, they had all come to the UA to become the best heroes they could. Aizawa was impressed by All Might's approach to testing the students' capabilities. It was the most rational approach, but he did worry how he would measure up. His quirk had no physical applications, but like All Might said, villains are not going to care about details like that. Aizawa gave his all to each test, but since his quirk had no physical effects on his body, he still came in last place. Midoriya, however, being able to use 10% of one for all and full cowling, was able to get very impressive scores in each of the tests. In fact, he tied with Bakugo for second place. Both boys were beaten out of the top spot by Momoye Urazu. The fact that Midoriya tied with him and that he was outdone for first place sent Bakugo into a rage. He flew at Midoriya, calling him Deku. The blonde yelled at the green-haired boy to tell him how a quirkless loser tied with him. This confrontation was stopped when All Might grabbed Bakugo with his large muscular hand and lifted him on the ground to be eye level with him. All Might then told Bakugo, "That is enough, young Bakugo. This behavior is shameful for an inspiring hero. Give me 500 laps of the field without using your quirk." Bakugo huffed off to do the laps. All Might then turned to the rest of the class. The number 1 hero said, "You all did marvelously today. Now you all have a better idea of how to use your quirks. You also know what areas you need to improve in physically. As for the special training," again the way he said the word special made the class cringe in terror, "I will discuss that more tomorrow. Until then, you are dismissed for today. Pick up a syllabus in the class and read over it before tomorrow." As the class turned to leave, All Might asked Midoriya and Aizawa to meet him in the teacher's lounge after they changed. The rest of Class 1 was puzzled by this. When the boys arrived in the teacher's lounge, All Might had a serious look on his muscular face. He then said to Aizawa, "Young Midoriya told me that he told you the secret of his power. I was a little bit worried about this, but Midoriya has only the highest praise of your person. But I must ask that you keep this secret, even from your classmates. If this information were to get out, then not only would young Midoriya be in danger, but anyone connected to him." Aizawa then said, "Thank you for stating the obvious, sir. Like I told Midoriya, you can count on me. I will not tell a soul." All Might responded, "Thank you, Aizawa. Now that is out of the way, I should show you this." All Might then changed into his weak form. Aizawa stood there with an unsurprised look on his face. "Sir, Midoriya also told me about your weak form. Though I have to say, it is one thing to hear about it and another to see it in person. I will keep this a secret too." The lack of emotion on the dark-haired boy's face surprised All Might. All Might then stated, "Your quirk is an interesting case, Aizawa, but its applications are such that it could be extremely useful. I plan to have special instruction for you, so you can develop your power to its fullest." Aizawa thanked the blonde hero for that. The three then conversed a little more so All Might could get to know more about Aizawa. He then sent the boys on their way. Both boys headed back to the classroom. When they arrived, they were met by a flurry of questions from their energetic classmates. The boys told them that All Might wanted to discuss special quirk training for the two boys. For Midoriya, since he just recently came into his power, and Aizawa, since his power could not be trained in the normal way. The classmates were satisfied with this answer. After a little socializing, the class then went to leave the school for the day. As Midoriya and Aizawa were heading to the train station, they heard a feminine voice say, "Midoriya, Aizawa." The boys looked back to see both Ida and Uraraka walking toward them. Uraraka then asked the boys if they were heading to the train station and if they wanted to walk together. Midoriya said they would like that. Aizawa just gave an emotionless huff. So, the four students walked off to the train station. Uraraka remarked, "Hey Midoriya, what does Deku mean?" Midoriya got a shocked look on his face at the mention of the title. He then said to the pink-cheeked girl, "That is a name that Bakugo gave me when we were kids to make fun of the fact that I did not have a quirk." Ada then said, "Bakugo would make fun of a fellow classmate. How shameful." As he said this, the blue-haired boy moved his arms in a robotic manner. Uraraka replied, "Well, I think that Deku sounds kind of cute. I think it would make a great hero name." At this statement, Midoriya responded, "Deku it is then." This reaction confused Ida. Aizawa understood what was going on. His green-haired friend had always been very transparent with his feelings. It was an aspect of Midoriya's character that was refreshing and annoying at the same time. Looking at the interaction, he did not think that his friend had romantic feelings for Uraraka yet. In fact, knowing his friend the way he did, he figured that it had not occurred to Midoriya that a girl would even like him that way. But even knowing that, Aizawa could see that the two were interested in each other. He decided not to say anything yet. After all, he barely knew Uraraka. He decided to keep an eye on this and decide on what to do later. That would be the most rational thing to do. As the four students walked, one topic dominated the conversation. This topic was what would their second day at UA bring, since the first had been so eventful. The answer that the group came to was that all they could do was meet the challenge head-on and go beyond, plus ultra. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our patrons: BDFLAMES, Ethan Davis, Terry Chills, Shifter Mules, Adam Zagel, XaVBeat3, Zill, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I'd also like to thank all of our YouTube members: Toy Acosta, Rob Thecking, Sithlord906, CF2364 and Knuckles, Rimu Tempest, Angel Juarez, Donald C. Stewart, Bryant Grier, and Rafik135. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Are We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.